Hi everyone, and welcome back to Talking ELT, the easiest place to learn about the big issues in language teaching. We're joined again today by Ed, Charlotte, and Nick, and we'll be continuing our conversation on multimodality. So we've just been talking about how we can help students critically view and interact with multimodal texts, and we've given a lot of great examples of things you can do in the classroom, things you can do outside the classroom, and how to help students develop these critical viewing skills. And I want to do something a bit more tangible and a bit more practical here by looking at some memes. Because students are going to be interacting with memes all the time. They appear in their news feeds, in their social media feeds. So I want to share some on screen and maybe talk about how we can help students interact with them and view them critically, and how they can kind of be read in the way you would read a traditional written or spoken text. So yeah, just as an example, so that we can kind of dig our teeth into something and see how that could then be extrapolated to other modes of communication. So I'm going to share some memes now. And I've pulled together some English language teaching and learning memes. So it's gonna be quite topical. So for those who are listening rather than viewing, we are sharing one on the screen, and it's the Spider-Man meme. And all the Spider-Men are pointing at each other, and they are labeled tough, taught, thought, though, through, thorough, and throughout.
Very good, teacher. Very
well
good.
Done. Excellent pronunciation.
And lovely mediation of what we're looking at as well, which is another, I guess, multimodal skill there.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Great.
Well, this is interesting how this is a multimodal podcast, but of course, while there's a video version, some people will just be listening.
Right.
So, yes. So this is our first meme.
So there should only be one Spider-Man, right? That's the basis for the meme, and suddenly it's who is the real Spider-Man, or this. Again, I've never been quite sure what this meme was, where it comes from.
So this one's taken from a comic, I think, where this Spider-Man runs into another Spider-Man, and they point at each other, going, "Wait, who are you?" And then a bunch of other Spider-Man enter the same scene, and they're all like, "Wait, what's going on?" And of course, someone's then taken this and put an English language teaching joke over the top of it.
It's a great way to express the frustration that you can have, or the confusion, I guess, of having learned a word and then extrapolated a rule from that word, and then finding that it doesn't work, or that it's been...
Yeah, it highlights the challenges of learning English as a second language.
Yeah. I like that one. I think it's a good one. And I suppose, talking about the meaning of that and interacting with that and how those different meanings interact with each other, I think that's the kind of activity which we need to be looking at, I suppose.
And it's worth pointing out here that this could be a pre-task, right? So the teacher could show a meme like this to a group of students, introduce or develop the topic of confusion, multiple versions of something which are very similar, and then ask the students to create their own memes. So redesign is a really important part of digital literacies, and getting students to create their own memes is a great application of this literacy. Digital literacy.
Yeah, to hear what our own learners struggle with when it comes to learning vocabulary and that closeness in pronunciation, or confusion in pronunciation. This would be a great meme to exploit that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a really nice way of, acknowledging with our learners that it is a tricky language, and that we have got vocabulary such as this that makes it difficult to learn. And for native speakers as well. My nephews, they have a real strong focus on phonics at school now, and looking at these sort of consonant clusters that you get, and then the vowels that precede them, but how the sounds can often change just depending on what the word is. It's not easy.
I have one problem with this meme.
Go on.
Tough Spider-Man looks the least tough of all of them. So if I was redesigning this, I think I'd switch though with tough. Because do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. See, you say though with tough, and I'm like, where's though? Which one's though?
Yeah.
Maybe that's an activity in itself.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move us on to our next meme. I've got a couple of them. So for those listening, we have a man reaching for a yellow ball, and he's labelled me, and the yellow ball is English proficiency. And then the next scene is grammar rules, grabbing him from behind and pulling him away so he can't grab the ball. And I like this one because this is kind of a standard format which appears a lot about, oh, this is something I want. Oh wait, hang on, I'm not getting it because of X. Yeah. I remember a version of this I saw which was me and. The person was labelled me, and instead of English proficiency, it was labelled something like going to the movies or my social life, and the grammar rules. The grammar rule was COVID. Yeah,
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this reminds me of a student I had years ago, a wonderful Turkish student, and she was so obsessed with grammar rules that it was really inhibiting her from just going out and just speaking and conversing in English, and. I guess, is this meme saying that like me is aware of this, or that the grammar rules just keep coming to grab you to say no, you're not getting the proficiency right because you haven't mastered the grammar rules? I don't really know, but in my mind, I see grammar rules as the problem here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is the grammar rules holding him back, or is it lifting him up?
Exactly. Yeah.
And what's that? Is that a bead of sweat? Is it a tear?
I think it's a bead of sweat. Mm-hmm. I think it's meant to be a bead of sweat.
And Chris, to have a critical viewing of this, I wonder, are there any masculine identifiers on the me? Because you did say it was a man in your description, but a student might say, "Well, teacher, what makes you say it's a man?"
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a very good point.
There's no hair. There are no kind of other features. Is it the size of the hand? Is it the color? I mean, what again, we can challenge our assumptions here about
I think that's a really good point though. It's that thing of I just defaulted to that.
Yeah. And maybe it's because we have this very stick man in English, which is now stick figure, but can kind of prime us to take something which is clearly ungendered and apply a kind of gender to it just by kind of habit, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think that is really interesting, how looking at that, why we read images a certain way like that, and where those assumptions are coming from.
Also, I wonder if you looked at the first panel, if you would automatically kind of know there was something coming.
Yes.
So there's a lovely thing here about this whole idea of multimodal literacy. Is like we do more than describe an image or process an image. We see an image as part of a carousel or part of a developing narrative, and we know there's more on the way. And you could even say, well, what would come next?
Yeah.
Ask students to come up with the third
image. Grammar rules. What would you put?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I suppose so much of memes and interacting with memes like this is relatability. It's about people already recognizing the format and knowing what's going to appear.
And that's why we find it funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we can relate to it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you change the little guy in the middle, if you change his eyes so that they're looking at English proficiency instead of looking backwards at grammar rules. Does that change it? Does it become a different meme then? Is it telling you something different then?
Or even if you change the labels. So if me, grammar rules, and English proficiency change places in the two pictures, does that convey a different message? And if so, what?
Yeah, that's really interesting. English proficiency stopping the grammar. Yeah. I'm going to move us on to our next one now.
We're overthinking
we've
this
had
one.
I think a really interesting conversation about that, I think. And I think this next one speaks for itself, and it's again another one around English proficiency and the challenges.
Oh, who's a clever boy?
I love
or
that.
Girl.
For me, I think I'd change them around because I find listening actually really difficult. Listening isn't my calm one. I think the sort of the writing one and the listening one would swap for me.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So for the listeners, what we've got is 4 panels, and we've got a husky who is stood by a pool, starts to accidentally step into the pool and panic a little bit. The third pool, he's really panicking, or she's really panicking, falling into the water. And the fourth pool, she's in the water and she's terrified. And they're labelled listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So the implication being that each one is progressively more difficult. But I do think that's interesting, what you were saying there around...
For me, reading is the easiest, then listening, and then writing and speaking.
Yeah.
Probably for me, writing would be the most difficult, although the one that panics me less, because...
I've got my task here. If I'm doing this with students, if it's a kind of needs analysis task, it's like, okay, make your own meme with the skills and the
Where do
husky
you put
here.
that?
Yeah.
And if you think about, like, when I was teaching in the UK, I would have multinational classes that I'd be working with, and so, you could not say that this meme applied to all of the learners in the class. There were some learners who were very, very confident when it came to speaking, whether they were accurate or not. That's where their confidence lies. And then when it came to writing, that was not something that they were very well engaged with. But also for me, like you, Nick, like listening is the biggest challenge for me. Whenever I go to France, and I'm always trying to speak as much French as I can, but what I hear in return, it just goes straight over my head. But I think an element of that is me just automatically telling myself, you're not going to understand what they say, and therefore I'm not even allowing myself the opportunity to try and absorb and understand it. So, it really depends on the learner type, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think that is really interesting, how looking at this one, something that's come up is so much of it is about, do I recognise this experience? Because automatically everyone's looking at that and going, oh no, those are in a different order, I find these things difficult in a different way. Whereas someone for whom that is the case will look at that and find it funny because they relate to it.
Well, I like Ed's idea of, using this as a kind of needs
diagnostics.
At the start of term.
Yeah, what's definitely evident here is that they're great conversation starters, and so for any kind of classroom task which is based on sharing ideas and putting your heads together, discussing what something might or might not indicate, is using memes like this is an ideal way to get started. I'm thinking now, is it on a boat or something, for example?
It could be a boat.
It looks like the brakes have suddenly come on, and in the second picture, it's the force of braking that has propelled the dog into the water. Again, it's like, did it fall or did it jump? There are all kinds of things here that are open to debate and open to discussion. Yeah. The open-endedness of it is what really makes it effective.
Yeah.
I love the eyes as well.
Yeah.
The eyes say it all, don't they?
The steady panic.
You could also sort of get what's the next picture as well.
Yeah.
Is it a teacher pulling it out?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
What is the rescuer?
I was
How are
thinking,
they labelled?
I thought I would have presumed huskies liked water as well. So it's leading me into kind of interesting questions rather than answers. And perhaps one thing about multimodal literacy is it's the ability to kind of harness and pursue questions rather than always trying to find answers to things.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's one of the things you were saying, Ed, and I think this is given me an interesting thought, in that we've talked a lot about receptive tasks, but you mentioned a potential productive task of a needs analysis. But I think you can go beyond that to so many different kinds of productive tasks, because like the meme template is giving you a certain template of information, of communicative information, that you then add your own information over the top of. So I mean, none come to mind because I'm not a teacher, but I can think of so many, like I imagine there are so many possibilities of different kinds of productive tasks where you could just go, here's a meme format, write about X.
Yeah.
It's what's interesting is that it just as with the traditional skills of literacy, effective writers have done lots of reading beforehand. Writing floats on a sea of reading. The same with memes. Like you can get a meme wrong. You can make a meme that makes no sense at all because it isn't true to the tradition of what that meme is about and what it means. So a student needs to have seen and laughed at dozens of versions of a certain meme in order to create an effective version of it for themselves.
Absolutely.
It can come down to culture a lot as well, can't it? It's a meme in Spain probably be completely lost on me, because if it's, referring to, I don't know, Spanish politician, or just, what's known to be a kind of way of living in Spain, having not lived in Spain myself, and I don't know anything about, the politics out there, then it would be lost on me. And so I guess we have to consider that when sharing memes with our learners. Are they going to understand the messaging? Or is this something that, we talk about, areas of humour in English like sarcasm. Sarcasm is quite a British thing, and can be lost on other nationalities. And so, if you've got a sarcastic meme, what's your learner going to get from that?
Yeah.
They're not going to understand it. There's little purpose in having it.
Yeah.
I think that also ties into sort of, video content as well. I know someone who wants, let their students watch an episode of Wallace and Gromit, and the poor students had absolutely no idea what was going on with the language that was being used, very colloquial language, and this obsession with cheese, and so I think there's a kind of sort of a cultural aspect that we have to take into account.
Yeah, I mean, that cultural aspect might be a positive thing that you can exploit if the person wants to learn about the culture, but it can be something that turns very boring, in that you have to explain everything. Then it's like explaining a joke. It's no longer funny, is it, if you have to explain it?
And I suppose sat here explaining memes.
Yeah.
I think that what Charlotte said earlier might be in danger of getting comments like, "I'm from Germany and we don't understand sarcasm at all." You were claiming it for Britain, but maybe that's a bold statement.
I mean, obviously, that's quite a sweeping statement to make.
The cultural point is valid, though, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's you can't make the assumption that everybody's going to get it.
Yeah.
No. And I
That's
suppose
true.
sarcasm in a different language is more difficult than sarcasm in your native language.
That's a great point.
I want to look at one last meme, which is a Drake meme. So Drake's a very common format where in the first panel he's flinching away from something, and in the second panel he's pointing to something else with a smile on his face. And here we have at the top, learning English at school, and he's flinching away from it, and watching English movies, which he's enjoying. Which I thought related a lot to this concept of multimodal literacy. So I thought this was a very interesting one.
See, for me, this is one that's lost because I have no idea who Drake is. And
Okay.
it's the first time I've seen this one as well. So I'm sort of, okay.
See, that's interesting because I barely know who Drake is. I basically have no idea. I know he's a singer. That's about it. I hope he's a singer. I hope I've not got that wrong.
It's great that we're down with the kids and relevant.
I know. But I know this format so well.
Yeah.
I see this all the time. So even though I have very, very little interaction with Drake's music, I know exactly what this is telling me.
And arguably, you don't need to know who Drake is in order to appreciate it. And there are probably people in memes who nobody knows, or very few people know who they are. And yet the kind of non-biographical kind of information there is so kind of compelling that we get what it is. Does he need to be famous, by the way? This is a question. Are all meme characters well known? Is that part of the deal with them?
You can become famous, can't you, if you become a meme? But
Yeah.
probably not something you want to be famous for, but because there are people who have become famous memes who are now trying to live it down, aren't they? But for me, the thing is that in the picture underneath, he doesn't even look that happy. So I didn't. My initial reaction was that he didn't really look that happy either. But
That's interesting.
You have to, and again, as a student, you would have to have seen enough of these memes to understand how they work. They're never ironic or sarcastic. They're always to be understood literally, right? Don't like learning English at school, love watching English movies. It's always that simple and straightforward.
Face value.
Always
Absolutely.
face value.
Yeah.
And having that kind of, maybe it's actually the right-hand side of this meme, which is contains more information than the left-hand side. And then once I understand the text here, so now I can decipher those pictures. He must be happy in the bottom picture because watching English movies is way better than learning English at school.
Yeah.
And he clearly doesn't like the top one.
Yeah.
Learning English at school is definitely something that he's...
So that's a reversal of how
from.
it normally works. We normally have an image to support the information contained in a text. And here, arguably, in Nick's case, you've got the text helping to make sense of the image.
The hand gestures are interesting as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're I mean, particularly the top one is by no means universal, is it?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
I'm wondering how much in this again. There's going to be people listening in the audience going, "You're missing the point here." I'm wondering whether the actual music video behind this is bringing some information to it as well, because in the music video, he's flinching away from something, whereas I'm wondering whether that's a thread here.
Or are we just massively overanalyzing?
We could also be
these
massively
memes?
overanalyzing it, or we're very much missing something, which all the Drake fans are going, "No, this is the point of the meme."
Yeah, quite possibly, actually.
And then once a meme is out there, the origin of it becomes less relevant. So it kind of loses its original power as it mutates and shifts and is used in various different contexts.
But then takes on different power, I suppose, through the process of being shared.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of the meaning is just from it being so so ever present. Like it just gets shared so much that people who don't necessarily know the original have encountered it enough times that it gets that kind of iterative meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking a deep dive into memes and meme culture with me.
Anytime.
And I'm gonna move us on to our next topic, which hopefully is a little more straightforward. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talking ELT, the easiest place to learn about the big issues in language teaching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to learn more about this issue and others like it. You can also get practical resources and more advice on this topic by downloading our position paper. Just follow the link in the description.